Welcome to Words of Wisdom from Kick-Ass Women.
Stories and advice about moving forward, punching through that glass ceiling, pushing harder, and blazing trails from women we really admire.
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Words of Wisdom from Kick-Ass Women. You know, we are unfiltered and we are courageous and true and just like telling it like it is. And I'm super excited to have with me today, I'm Liz Brohan, and with me today is a very special co-host, Marie Newman, who does it all. Former congresswoman, author, speaker, activist. You're everything.
Oh my gosh, I don't think that at all, but thank you for, I hope I live up to even a fourth of that. Thank you.
I think you will. And I also believe that today's guest is somebody that you're going to have a lot in common with. Delmarie Cobb she's a journalist first and foremost, but is really well known for her political activism and everything that she's been able to accomplish. And I can't wait to dive in on her story. So I will say, welcome, Delmarie. It is great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to tell our audience a little bit about you. You know, so she's a self-described, and how do you say it? You say crusading journalist,
right.
Which I'm going to need to hear more about because I just loved that to begin with. But anyway, you're a political strategist, you're a firestarter. She was actually a producer on Sanford and Son. I know some of you will remember that comedy that was a big hit on TV. I was just a kid. You don't look old enough to have been a producer on that show.
That can't be right. The timeline doesn't work, Delmarie.
The timeline doesn't work. And at about that time, she was a desk assistant at KNBC in Los Angeles, and then soon became a respected on-air reporter in many different markets, including Chicago, South Bend, Indiana, Norfolk, Virginia. I mean, you were kind of all over the place,
Gypsy.
right? Yeah, absolutely. And then she also had her own, television show, right? Or it's a radio show.
It was a news magazine like 60 Minutes.
Yeah, a news magazine like 60 Minutes, and it was mostly for Black women.
We covered national world news, but from an African-American perspective.
Very cool. Very cool. So then she, moved on, and while raising money for that show, she was also consulting on campaigns, political campaigns, and guess what? Winning. So it evolved into like a full-time consultancy.
Exactly.
That you are still doing today and taking it to new heights with your own state PAC. So we have actually a lot to unpack here today, Delmarie, and thank you for being our guest.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to have you here today. So I have to tell our listeners that Delmarie became part of my context, if you would, in my world. I think it goes back probably 10 or 11 years. I was at an event and you were one of the headline speakers. And I thought, oh my gosh, she totally gets it. She gets what activism is about, and political and journalism activism is. And it was so impressive, and loved hearing from you. And I have never gotten that. We've probably passed each other at several events, but I've never asked you this. And I would like to ask you now, what gave you the first formal kind of political spark? Like, what was that thing? Was there an event or a series of events that were like, oh gosh?
Well, actually, my dad worked for the Board of Elections for 30 years.
Oh, that'll do it.
That's a good start.
That'll do it.
So back when we had voting machines and people brought the votes in, he was in the binder department. And I always described the binder department as, so binders were this big, and they covered a whole table, and they had binders of all the voters. And so elected officials were always coming over to our house to talk to my dad about, especially when you were circulating petitions. This was his busy time.
Yeah.
And so it was the interaction and hearing the stories and discussing politics at around the table, and so I learned it without knowing I learned it. And when I became a reporter and wanted to do some political stories, it all started coming together. And then I wound up, after I was on the air, working on Jesse Jackson's campaign for president in 88 as his national traveling press secretary. And that's when it really all came together.
Oh, that's huge.
I have to ask one quick thing. I'm going to throw it back to Liz. What was your favorite interview of an elected official or a candidate?
When I was ever?
Yeah. No, just curious if you like one that stands out or.
Well, I mean, not that I did, but I just remember when I was on Jackson's campaign in 88, Garrick Utley, those of you who remember NBC News, was interviewing him, and they were talking about Jackson's ego. And they were saying, you have a big ego. And Jackson's response was, it's okay to have a Rolls Royce ego as long as you don't have a bicycle brain.
I love it. That's good.
Wow.
That is a funny thing about confidence, and it's true of women as well, that like sometimes the two get so conflated, right? Just because you're a very confident person doesn't mean you're arrogant.
Right.
And he was very confident.
And that's what women deal with, and that's what African Americans deal with. If you show any sense of ego or confidence, it's misconstrued as something else.
Yeah, you're definitely held to a higher standard. It's just seems extremely difficult, no doubt about it. I have one quick Jesse Jackson story. So I was flying home from a business conference, right? And he's on the plane, and he's in first class, which I was glad to see. But he waited and said hello to every single one of us as we got off that plane. He didn't need to do that. And I just thought, okay, now that's a cool guy.
Well, what's interesting about that is I've had candidates who are afraid to speak to people. When you're trying to get petitions and things, and you're trying to go up there, say something, let them know who you are, get their signature. And I always give the example of two elected officials who were my clients who had no problem saying hello to anybody. And that was Jesse Jackson and Roland Burris.
Oh, Roland.
If they saw you across the street, they would walk across the street to introduce themselves and shake your hand.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it should be,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Good example.
Yeah. So when you started putting together campaigns and started winning, what level of government were you working with? Who were you getting elected?
Well, one of my first candidates was Bobby Rush in 1992 when he ran for Congress.
Wow.
That was one of my very first candidates.
That's a good one.
But my very first candidate, which allowed me to open my office, was David Orr when he ran for Cook County Clerk from Alderman. He was 49th Ward Alderman. And so that was my very first campaign on my own.
Boy, you started out at a pretty high level. And those are some big names to be helping out right from the get-go.
Right.
I love it.
And so that's when I decided, well, let me open my office. So I opened my office on April 1st, 1990. So it was right after that campaign.
There you go. So you've been in a lot of rooms with a lot of powerful people, and I know you've had to speak truth to power. So what are some of your strategies for doing that?
Well, as Dan Hines once said, he said, I know I didn't ask you, but you're still going to tell me. So that's my strategy, is that you hired me for a reason. And the reason isn't for me to tippy-toe around you. You obviously thought I brought something to the table. And so I'm going to share with you what I bring to the table. And it's not always popular because people at that level really don't want to hear no. And when you're the person and the only person in the room saying no, you're by yourself. But I'm confident in what I'm saying, and there's a reason I'm saying no and telling you not to do it. And so I'm and that comes from, I did come from a family where it was very strong women all my life in my family. And so I never, ever had a problem or seeing anybody who was weak or didn't have confidence in themselves. And I always tell the joke that I'm a little woman raised by a little woman, and Napoleonic complexes aren't sexist.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it does take a lot of confidence to get out there and do what you do and talk to the people that you need to get to listen, right? And then how did the rest of your consultancy evolve? Did you just get people elected and then they just flocked into you?
Well, it was a lot of it was word of mouth or over the transom, as I say. People would hear, stories, and then they'd come to you and ask you to do their campaign, or somebody would say, she could help you with your firm, and I've helped people in terms of, because I say everything's a campaign. And you may not look at it like that, but everything's a campaign, and you know that.
Yeah.
When you're helping a business elevate their profile, that's a campaign. You approach it in the very same way. It takes the same discipline. And one of the things I say all the time is that disciplined campaigns win and undisciplined campaigns lose. And so it's the discipline that you bring to whatever it is project you're doing that helps them do better or win or whatever you're trying to do.
And discipline could translate into process, because I know Marie is huge on process. To be successful.
Or I'm a process geek, maybe.
I like process
Let's all be honest
geeks,
about that.
but
yeah.
it works. I know that, discipline and process probably are very closely married somehow. Yeah.
Well, you've brought all this forward in a really positive way with very positive candidates. So thank you for all your great work just as a starting point. But your work goes on, and I do want to hear about IDA's Legacy PAC and what you're doing now, what you've done in the past, and what your vision is moving forward.
Well, it goes back to what you said earlier about being a crusading journalist. I mean, Ida B. Wells was a crusading journalist, and to the point that investigative reporting still is based on all the things she did when she was documenting lynching in America. And so those same techniques are being used today. Yeah. And I feel that a crusading journalist means that you're using your platform for good, to make sure that people understand what's happening and know what's happening. I mean, I've helped people who were, like in Norfolk, there was a whole street of people who were living in terrible conditions, and I just stumbled on it. We were actually doing a story about mail, and we stumbled on this street where these people were living in deplorable conditions. And when it rained, it was raining in their homes, and nobody was doing anything, but they were being promised that they would be moved soon. But in the meantime, they're living horribly. Yeah. And we wound up doing a story on it. And we wound up getting the whole block moved. I mean, it took many stories, but we wound up getting the whole block moved. And it went from young women, single mothers, to veterans of America's wars who were all living in these conditions, and we got them moved. There was another family when I was in South Bend. The young boy had a disease called Wilson's disease, and it was forming in his liver. And it was killing him. He needed a liver transplant, and that was before people were getting them. And the Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh was the one that was the most famous at the time. And we wound up getting money to help them to go to Pittsburgh and get that transplant. And so it's those kinds of stories that I consider crusading journalism stories. And so after the 2016 campaign, and all the people who were protesting, and I always say the people who were protesting were some of the people who didn't vote, because 94% of African American women voted for Hillary, and that was not the case in terms of white women, and so I'm like, wait a minute, you all are protesting, but you're the ones who didn't vote, and at the time was 5 PACs formed in Illinois at that time, and we were one of them in 2017, and we're the only one that's still around. All the other ones have gone because we believed in what it was we were trying to do, which is inform, and not just Black women, but that was the basis, because we were the basis of the vote. I mean, even if you look at the most recent vote,
right?
The most recent vote, Black women were 92% of the vote. and 53% of white women voted for Trump. And
Oh my God.
Yeah, what went wrong there?
I know.
Oh, I think I know what went wrong.
And so, I'm saying that if we're carrying everybody else's water, we need to carry our own, because it's not just enough to vote if you don't use your power and leverage your power. And we're not leveraging our power, and we're still not leveraging our power. We're voting, but no one is respecting us. And an example of that is to have people running around, Democrats running around, adopting what the Republicans are saying in terms of woke and DEI and all of that. And we instead of talking about the bathrooms, we should be talking about the classrooms.
That's right.
And this is somebody who closed 50 schools, the most schools in the nation ever. And so we're allowing that person to be the voice of the Democratic Party, which is antithetical to everything that Black people stand for.
Right.
And so we're still not being respected in terms of the power that we bring.
Are you talking about Rahm Emanuel?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. I just want to be clear with everybody, because I'll tell you, Delmarie is very gracious and kind. I'm not as kind, so just to be clear.
I was kind that time.
Well, that's why we're kick-ass, right? But what I'm hearing is that you take a story or you take an incident and then you make more of it. And the idea that you had the insight to look at all of these women who had voted and raise their profile on the stage to get them to be more active and do more good in the world, that's something all of us should just get in line with.
Yeah.
Well, it's so important, and a lot of that comes from journalism, because one of the things you learn in these smaller markets is that you take a national story and you look for the local impact.
Yeah.
How does that national story impact you locally?
Yeah.
And that's everything.
Yeah.
And so when you apply that same rule to everything, you see where you fit in and you can make a difference. And that's what I'm always looking at. Where can people fit in and make a difference?
I'm sure you're finding a lot of women, new voices, right, that are really kind of coming into their own, with your help.
Well, there is a push, and it's still hesitant. Statistics show that you have to ask a woman 7 times to run before she'll say yes.
It's true.
Marie knows a thing or two about that.
And
Or better, and I think you'll concur with this, but I won't speak for you, is instead of waiting to be asked, some women just have to, nobody asked me, Ron. So talk about that a little bit. The candidates that you help, that they make their own way, right? They build it from zero.
And you have to build it from zero as a woman, period. Because the reason they have to be asked so many times is their biggest fear is raising money. They don't have the networks, the same kinds of networks. And so that's their biggest fear, is that if I jump out there, will I have the money to succeed?
Yeah.
And that's what holds them back. And men, as you say, don't have to be asked. Nobody asks.
No, they can just look in the mirror and say, wow, my hair looks good today. I'm going to run.
I know somebody who
crazy,
just
right?
called me up who said he was going to run. He wants to run for mayor. And I'm looking at him like, what? No involvement in the community whatsoever. Nothing involved in the political arena. Nothing. Just
Let me guess, he was a CEO.
Right. Right. I woke up one day and said, I'm going to run for mayor. And that's what men do. I mean, that's what Barack Obama did when he ran for president of the United States. And I can just go down the list of men who say, I'm going to do this, and they do it. And then when a woman does it, of course,
it's questioned.
And especially the higher up you go. I mean, when you listen to all the things that were said about Hillary and Kamala Harris, it's because they were women.
Yeah, the scrutiny is unbearable.
Yeah.
And I won't even use the word unfair, because no kidding.
It's beyond that.
But it is beyond that. But so I love that you said it's a fear of raising money. I think that, money in politics is something we could just spend another days talking about. But do you also have to give these women that you see such potential in confidence?
Well, it is because I did a race a few years ago. In fact, it was right before COVID hit. And she was running for a state Senate. And, of course, she, again, didn't have the money. She wasn't the favored candidate in terms of the party. And so she didn't have a whole lot going for her. What I kept saying to her is, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose this one. What matters is what kind of campaign you run, because this will set the tone for your future. You never know what's going to come down the line, but if people see a good race, they will keep you in mind. I said, so nobody needs to know that behind the scenes we're dying here. They only need to see the product we put out in the public. She is now the Cook County clerk.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
And so, which something she would have never foreseen at that time. But it was because of that. Then when Deborah Sims decided she wasn't going to run for Cook County Commissioner anymore, she asked her, would you like to run and take my place? And I will endorse you and help you. And so it's when I go into a campaign, especially with a new person, Sharon Fairley is another example. When she ran for Attorney General, had never run for anything ever. I know so many things about a campaign that I step in and I see what's missing immediately. As soon as I walk in the room, after a day, I can tell what you need. And so my thing is to just help you see so that you can focus on what you should be doing. Because I say a candidate should be doing two things and two things only. That is, being the candidate, which means knowing the issues, doing all the things you're supposed to do as the candidate, and raising money. Those are the only two things I need you to do. I don't need you to do nothing else.
That's right. That's right.
They both sound hard. But I'm glad that you're, getting women to say, yes, I can do this. Yeah. And I think the other thing I'm hearing, because we talk about it a lot on this show, is it's okay to fail. And what you're telling us is that when you fail, just make sure that the story is right and that the product is quality, because you're going to have another day.
Oh, absolutely. I did Pat Dowd's campaign when she first ran against a 20-year incumbent. And it was 4 people in the race. She got 45%. And I said to her, you may not win the first time, but you take the 45% that you got this time and you use it next time. And the next time she won. Yeah. And I always give the example of Toni Prewinkle. Yeah. Toni ran 3 times for alderman before she won. And as she said, she learned something with each loss. She learned something. And so you can't take it personally.
It's so true. When I lost in 2018, Toni was one of the people that called and said, do it again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very cool.
And so did Dick Durbin, and Keith Ellison called me. Mm-hmm. And said, they all had run 3 times. So literally, because Dick ran 3 times before he got to Congress. Toni ran 3 times, and Keith Ellison, I didn't know that.
I didn't realize it either.
He ran 3 times before he won. And and now he's the Attorney General of Minnesota, right? And amazing, right? And a great spokesperson for all of it. But that advice you gave was golden. It was more than any other money you could raise for those candidates. Your advice and your solid stature and so steeped in the what you need on a campaign is so critical, because there's no kit, right? Delmarie, there's no kit. They're like, here, honey,
exactly.
Here's this little kit for you, and you just have to follow these instructions. Right. It has to be amazing sage folks around you, like you are. Mm-hmm. In the pack, and what you do for candidates. What do you think is the number one stumbling block for women beyond, and this is more on the personal side and the quality side and the subjective side of things, is that, of course, because I get the fundraising thing, it was like pulling teeth, right? But what is the thing that creates either inertia or holds women back when they're running?
Being worried about what other people think of them.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
I've had, especially the younger the candidates, I've had to say, you're not running for prom queen. Do you understand that? I don't care if these people don't like you. This is what you need to do. And it's like, stop sending me this. They're sending you all the Facebook stuff and they're sending you.
Oh, God.
I said, I'm not looking at that.
Yeah, we don't care.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I said, this is all you need to do. And so I just find that part of it unbelievable, how much they care about what other people think.
Yeah.
The social media is a blessing and a curse. It's constant and it can be very negative and hurtful feedback. But what you have to remember is that they've only got 3 followers. Mm-hmm. So everything they just said about you got to nobody.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping you can get them over that.
Right.
Because it's kind of a tough game.
Yeah, I had a candidate. They didn't think she should run, and everybody else didn't think she should run, and so they were every day somebody was calling her with something negative, and I would say to her, "How much money did they give you? How long were you on that call? You were on that call for 15 minutes and you didn't raise any money? Then you were on that call 15 minutes too long. So listen, you need to be on another call." Right. It's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear what they're saying. I don't care. It has nothing to do with me. And it has nothing to do with you if they're not helping you.
Right.
So did they say don't run and I'll help you do so-and-so something else? No, they just are giving you all this negative feedback that you're internalizing,
right.
And then you're feeling they're
and you're amplifying
right,
it
exactly, yeah. And they're tearing away at whatever confidence you need, because running is not hard, it's not easy at all, and so you need every fiber of confidence and positivity you can get in order to do that every day. That's why it's so hard when someone loses. Is because all of a sudden it just stops. Yesterday you knew everything you were going to do for 12 hours. And then today you have nothing to do.
Yeah. Right.
And so you have to tell people, don't internalize that and feel badly about it. Okay, you lost. I do understand. And when I first was doing campaigns and my candidates would lose, I cried too.
Sure.
But, so I understand. Cry, take a week, whatever, go
Throw
away.
Some things.
Right,
yeah.
Go away, come back and decide whether you're going to do it again.
Yeah.
So get off the phone.
Right.
Get off those phone calls, right? Thanks for the feedback. Don't forget to vote for me. Got to go.
Right. Exactly.
And move on and go raise money.
Exactly.
Keep going.
And so what are the big issues that are going to help your candidates win in 2026?
Well, there are so many, right?
Oh, gosh, I know. You have to tell me what's going to be important, because they're all important.
Right. They're all important. And I think just having a handle on all of them so that you can bring them back home to where people are and what's important to people on a local level. I mean, one of the things, of course, we talk about all the time is the economy. That's what was so important during the election. Well, look at the economy now. I mean, you can't go in a grocery store without coming out with sticker shock. And so the economy didn't get any better. And that's one of the things you have to talk to people about. The economy didn't get any better. I mean, look at the money we're spending on ICE and these other agencies, and why. All those things, you have to tie that in so people understand that this is unnecessary spending. If, in fact, you were worried about your quality of life, these things could have been better used to improve your quality of life. And so that's how you have to drive it home so that they understand that, because you're doing something to somebody else, and that's what Trump peddles in victimhood, is you didn't get a job promotion because of this person who's unqualified. And so people are internalizing that. And so you have to bring it back around to no, when ABC does better, you do better. We are all in this together, and we have to understand that. I mean, because, again, another example is because of the detention and sending people away. Now the farmers are having problems. The butchers are having problems.
Everybody.
The nursing homes are having problems. The hospitals are having problems, which means you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're focusing mostly on women at a local level, right? And the importance of that is huge. But are you also already thinking about where it should go next? I mean, do you put those kinds of strategies and plans together?
So one of the reasons I think, local politics is so important is because I gave the example last year of Kamala Harris. So Kamala Harris was a district attorney, and then she was attorney general, and then she was a United States senator, and then she became a vice presidential the vice president, and then she became a candidate for president. But she held 3 local offices first, and we have to remember that it was the local offices that were the springboard to her on a national stage, which is why local offices are so important.
Yeah.
They're the best training grounds, right?
Right.
And just let us all be clear that she was the most qualified candidate ever.
She was super qualified.
Yeah, because
Of all those
those
positions.
things that you just itemized. It really does make you a very unique and very thoughtful and well-prepared candidate when you have gone through all parts of government. And so it, again, shocking that she didn't win, but I digress.
And then when you think of those 3 local, all of her positions from district attorney all the way to vice president within 20 years.
Yeah.
She did all that within 20 years.
Yeah.
And then somebody says that you just, somebody just gave you a handout.
Yeah.
That's such a great point.
Yeah. When I was hearing that on the campaign, I literally was fit to be tied because, and that happens to a lot of women. Of course, it was very much in the spotlight with VP Harris, but it happens all the time, right? It's like, well, who are you and why are you here? Well, let me tell you about all of the 100 things I've done,
Right.
to get here. Because it's not an accident and it's not luck.
Right.
Right? She worked her hiney off.
Right.
So it is upsetting. I want to turn it back to you, and I know you probably don't like talking about you, but I am fascinated by this. You have been speaking up to power and doing much of what Ida B. Wells did for a very long time. Were there times where you sat back and said, A, I'm tired and someone else should do this, or B, I'm so frustrated that people won't listen to me, or something else where you're like, gosh, is this worth it? Because I work so hard, right? Have you ever had that day, that hour?
Every day.
Okay, every day. Right.
I mean,
I was going to say
Can't wake
weekly,
up
but
for that.
I know. I mean, you look at things. I mean, I often say, certainly I could have been more successful if I had been the type to go along to get along. But I've been okay. And the bottom line for me has always been, I don't need to be rich. I just need to be okay. And I'm okay. And so as long as I'm okay, I will continue to be a voice speaking out against the things that I think are wrong. Now, if I find myself standing on the corner with a cup in my hand, and that's the other thing that you learn that I made a decision early on, is that I'm not living above my means, because if I had to stand on the corner with a cup in my hand, I could cover my expenses.
Yeah.
And I have made my life such that I'm not letting money rule me, because there's too much out here to talk about.
Yeah.
And I have to be concerned about what's going on in the world and not about the money.
Yeah.
And so I've got friends who are living, high on the hog, and they're worried to death, and they have to make decisions that I don't have to make.
Yeah.
And so there's the tension all the time, because they'll say something and I'm like, I can't
I
do
don't
that.
have to worry about that.
Hate to tell you.
Yeah.
Hate to
I
tell you.
can't be the only one sitting here. You're so successful at what you've done, but why didn't you ever run for office? You're so articulate.
Amazing.
Well, I discovered this on the Jackson campaign. You can be an activist or you can be a politician, but you cannot be both. And I decided I didn't want to be. I wanted to continue to speak truth to power.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have to compromise, and politics is the art of compromise. I didn't want to have to. If I don't believe in it, I don't want to do it, and I don't want to have to compromise and do it. And so I'd rather help people get there and push them, because I think that's the biggest mistake we make. The reason we have the world we have, especially in the United States, and especially even more so in the Black community, is because we're relational and not transactional. And it should be, what have you done for me lately? Just because I helped you get in office, I voted for you. If I'm not happy with you, then I'm going to help you leave office. Yeah. And that's the lever we have that we don't use. Yeah. Because some of these people are getting reelected, and there's no reason they should be reelected. But if they don't have to worry, if you're not going to do anything, once they get in there, then they don't have to really be responsive to you. And that's our biggest mistake.
It's my eternal frustration with electeds is that they will do anything to keep their power, anything. Like I remember in 22 when I was going to the primary, and I knew there was a strong likelihood we would lose. And I said, we're always going to be on the right side of morality and on the right side of history because we stood up for marginalized, told the exact truth, we're honest, transparent, authentic, all of those things. But we are going to lose our jobs. And you can't be afraid to lose your job.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that's what I've learned. It's why I've maintained my activism and gone back to being an activist for that reason, is that I know I can never go back to being a politician because A, I have way too big of a mouth, and B, I don't want to compromise anything. I don't. I just can't live like that. So you were smart and you learned it a little sooner than Marie did. And thank you for that. You're a treasure. And I have to also tell you, too, I just want to thank you for your Chicago kind of mentoring the political community in Chicago, because it is very evident that so many people have benefited. Your legacy is...
Well, I appreciate it.
Amazing.
And I never stop. In fact, when I call some of them, they're like, okay, Delmarie. Because they're waiting. And sometimes I'm just calling them to compliment them.
Just to say hello. Right.
I said, no, this is not a bad call. This is a good call.
I'll break my own rule. I don't have to earn money today. I don't have to fundraise today.
Right.
Just wanted to say hello.
Right. Exactly.
Well, based on what you guys were both just talking about a minute ago, does that mean you believe in term limits?
I do. Yeah. Absolutely do.
I didn't, but I've come around
to
believe in them, because when you have people who are getting reelected, for instance, in Chicago, you talk about aldermen, and there's 50,000 people in a ward, and they're getting elected with 5,000 people over and over again. There's a problem with that. And they're not doing a good job. And there's no reason they should be reelected. There's a problem. So there has to be a way to replenish and renew and revitalize the electorate. And the only way to do it is by getting people excited and energized and new blood and new ideas and those kinds of things.
And support them and get out there with them. Well, you're doing us all a huge service. That's the truth. Marie is right. It's been amazing to watch you do what you do.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And I love it. I mean, I've never had a bored day.
Probably not, right?
Right, because there's always something to do. And when you're not out there actually on the battlefield, you're doing the homework so that you can be on the battlefield. Mm-hmm. So, it's all the time. And yes, it gets tiring, but somebody has to do it. And you're hoping that if other people see you do it, they'll be inspired to do it, because that's the only way you'll get the next generation to get involved.
Absolutely.
You're so right. Inspiring the next generation is really everyone's job on this planet. It really is. It's your number one job.
That's what this podcast is all about. Yeah. We want to inspire the next generation of leaders.
Exactly.
And you're doing that today.
Well, thank you.
So I know we started out thinking that you were always in the role of David versus Goliath. Do you ever get to be Goliath?
I've never been the Goliath.
Right.
No, I'm one of these people. And it's funny because I jokingly say that my niche is fighting City Hall. If City Hall is for it, I'm against it. And that's not how I certainly didn't start out like that. But it just seemed that when the issues were coming up, you were always fighting City Hall and what they were doing. And there were very few people who were doing it. And it's like, wait a minute, you cannot think this is good.
Yeah.
And somebody has to say it. And that was the other part of it, is I started a column in 2014. And the reason I started writing is because I just wanted it in print.
Yep.
That somebody sees what you're doing. The emperor has no clothes on, and somebody's willing to say that.
Yeah.
It's only so it goes down in history that we were not all crazy.
Right. And I have a Substack column, and that's some of the reasons that I write what I write about is nobody else is, and it's not a super comfy topic for a lot of people.
That's true.
And so I agree with you. Like, get it in writing so at least it's there.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
For historical purposes.
Exactly.
If we can't impact today.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Well, and you're both fearless, which is something I think we all appreciate and would always want to support. So thank you for being fearless.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I just don't even know any other way. And I don't call it fearless. For me, it's just speaking truth to power.
Yep.
And, if it comes off as being fearless, then that's fine. But I just, again, don't want to be cowered by people who they're only there because of you. That's the relationship imbalance. You are an elected official because I voted for you. You're not elected official because you're somebody special.
Yeah.
And there's this feeling that, and I see it, and I often say it must be something in the genes, because maybe that's why I didn't want to be an elected official. I don't have the gene, but I see it so often that once they get in these positions, their whole personality changes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they think that there's something special about them, and no, there's nothing special about you. You're a representative of us. Yeah. You're our voice in the halls of power. That's what you're there for.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it is so important to have voices like yours telling people like that you are not special. I mean, and it's not meant to be unkind.
No.
It is meant to say the reason that you can't be special is because you have to represent everybody, right?
Right.
And not everybody can be special. So don't be special.
Right.
So be everybody, right? That's really, and it's, I would call you purposed and principled. That's what is the kind of the evocation of the fearlessness title, is that you're just purposed and principled and passionate about what you do. And therefore you go forward and you speak truth to power. And it's, I sense in you, it's more of like a compulsion that is like, it's not always that you want to do it, you have to do it.
Right.
Would you say that's accurate about you?
Probably is.
That's what drives you. Huh?
I feel that vibe.
I like it. Well, let me thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you.
We've learned so much. I mean, in all of your stories, you've given us great advice. And we certainly hope that you continue to be a success, that your candidates continue to be a success, and that your pack just gets, stronger and stronger.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Is there a website to your pack that we should talk about real fast?
Yes,
Delmarie?
it's www.idaslegacy.com. And if you go to the homepage and go to the bottom of the homepage, you can actually subscribe, and then you'll receive all of our information.
Then please do that, folks. This is an amazing organization and incredibly important as we move forward in this very precarious time. So Ida B. Wells Legacy Pack.
Thank you.
Great. We'll help out.
Okay.
Because you're gonna need all the help you can get next year, right?
Exactly.
I think everybody is. And thank you, Marie, for being here again. This was such a great conversation.
Loved it.
I hope everybody will go out and buy your book.
A Life Made from Scratch.
A Life Made from Scratch.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a great book. And it's full of process, people. She tells you how to go do stuff, which is super fun. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, The Motion Agency. The Motion Agency is a marketing communications firm headquartered in Chicago, and they are the largest women-owned independent agency in the area. I think maybe even in the U.S., but that's probably wrong. But anyway, check them out. They're awesome.
Great.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you again next time.